I was saved by God to make America great again.
Has it really only been 100 days since Donald Trump took office? Because it feels like 1,000.
I would love to see Canada be the 51st state.
It has been the most remarkable 100 days we have seen from any US president.
People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. We're going to have Gaza. We don't have to buy. There's nothing to buy. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
We've never seen such a whirlwind of activity from a new American president.
Air Force One is currently in international waters for the first time in history, flying over the recently renamed Gulf of America.
If the talks are successful, I actually think it'll be a very bad day for Iran, if that's the case. Yeah.
It's been remarkable at every single level. You recall the inauguration when it was held inside because of a freezing cold day in Washington. On that very same day, Trump began a blizzard of executive orders.
First item that President Trump is signing is the rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others. The second item, President Trump, is a regulatory freeze. The next item, sir, is a freeze on all federal hiring.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so.
Executive orders which implemented his vision for America. He attacked wokeism at every single level. On the international stage, he prepared the ground for America getting out of the Paris Accord and a whole range of international deals. He instituted DOGE, of course, with his new friend Elon Musk to cut waste from the American government.
Come here, Elon! Did you see his rocket yesterday? It was captured.
There really wasn't a part of the American economy and society that wasn't touched in some way by Trump's blizzard of executive orders very on. In fact, even the Oval Office is now dripping with gold because Trump's redecorated it. So it was an amazing first couple of weeks. But then that was only the harbinger for the very next phase of Trump's frenetic activity, which of course was implementing tariffs.
A fresh trade war between the US and China has just kicked off.
The president will be implementing tomorrow a 25% tariffs on Mexico, 25% tariffs on Canada, and a 10% tariff on China for the illegal fentanyl that they have sourced and allowed to distribute into our country.
And there was shock in Canada that he could actually do that, and in Mexico as well, and then a lot of pushback.
I am announcing Canada will be responding to the US trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods.
And then Donald Trump did what has become a pattern in these 100 days, and that is he's gone to the edge, he's levied serious tariffs on allies, and then he's backed off.
After a half-hour phone call with Donald Trump, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum victoriously walked onto the stage of her morning press conference. She was met with a round of applause as she announced Trump had agreed to temporarily pause tariffs on Mexico.
That was one aspect of Trump's international behaviour in the first 100 days. And of course, then we had some international plays. The biggest one was the one in Gaza, where he promised to make Gaza into an international resort and move 1 million plus Palestinians out of the territory, and said there is a peace deal that can be made in the long term which has Gaza as a beautiful country, presumably without Palestinian populations.
We're going to take over that piece and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of.
Now, that got derided pretty much universally, and Trump has since backed away from that, and at the moment he hasn't really pushed forward at all on that original proposal. The proposal internationally that of course has garnered the most controversy has been the way that he has tried to end the war in Ukraine. Now, Trump has made some progress towards a deal there in the first 100 days, but it's been a very messy process, and it's been a process whereby he's been criticised for appeasing Russia's Vladimir Putin too much in the proposed deal.
In a new interview with Time magazine, President Trump said Crimea will stay with Russia.
They made a decision. There wasn't a bullet fired. There was no fighting. There was no anything. They just handed it over. Now they say, well, can you get it back? I think that's going to be a very difficult thing to do.
Freezing the front line where it is and not giving Ukraine robust security guarantees in any peace deal. Now, it's still a work in progress, but we've seen Trump have a very famous falling out with Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian leader, in the White House in that famous Oval Office stoush.
Allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war,
you're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards.
Playing cards.
But right now, you don't.
Yeah,
you're playing cards.
Mr. President.
You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives.
So Trump on the international stage has been controversial as part of the Ukrainian issue. He has really rebuked European nations for their lack of defence spending, for their inability and refusal to take greater responsibility for their own security. So he's questioned in a way the transatlantic alliance, which of course has made lots of European countries nervous. I mean, Trump does have some good points here because they have been lazy with their security, but certainly of the whole world, even allies, have been unnerved by Trump's incredibly transactional approach to these issues.
European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says Europe is ready to massively boost its defense spending and take responsibility for European security.
And of course, then in recent months, we've had the so-called Liberation Day, and that has been when Trump turned up in the Rose Garden with a board, with a whole list of countries, and the new levels of tariffs that he was going to implement on their goods being imported into America.
China, 67%. That's tariffs.
It was an astonishing day because a lot of countries around the world were whacked by heavy tariffs. Now, Australia got away relatively lightly, but even so, Australia, which has a trade surplus with America, was whacked with 10% tariffs. And so, you know, this really was a big moment, and it scared the world markets and the bond markets. And in fact, it scared Trump. It's the only thing that really has unnerved him in his first 100 days have been the markets, because Wall Street has been hugely volatile. It's been heading south, and he is concerned by that. He doesn't want to be the president to send America into a recession. So what he's done is he's backtracked on that Liberation Day tariffs and frozen them all at 10% across the board for 90 days.
I did a 90-day pause for the people that didn't retaliate, because I told them if you retaliate, we're going to double it. And that's what I did with China, because they did retaliate. Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy.
And so that's where it's at the moment. Trump, again, has gone to the brink like he did previously and has pulled back on it. So Trump is making waves at every single level. For Australia, he's unnerved people who have, of course, been very supportive of the US alliance. He didn't know what AUKUS meant when he was asked about it in the White House.
Be discussing AUKUS with the Prime Minister, sir.
What does that mean?
AUKUS, the Australia-US Defence Alliance.
Yeah, well, we'll be discussing that. We've had another great relationship, and you have too, with Australia.
Yeah.
We've had a very good relationship with Australia, please.
Australia, as I said, has been hit by 10% tariffs, and so he's now sparked a debate in Australia about how self-sufficient Australia is in defence and security and economically, and he's raised questions about the very close nature of the alliance, and are we looking at a different type of alliance down the track? So across the board and across the world, Donald Trump has really changed America, and he's changing the world to a large degree in his first 100 days. It has been the most remarkable 100 days we have seen from any US president, and there's only 3 3/4 years to go.